Hello everyone, my name is Whitney Holland and today we will be talking about obesity prevention. As a side note, this lesson plan is geared towards high school students and it's obesity prevention. There are 3 objectives in this particular lesson plan. The first objective, students will be able to distinguish between healthy and unhealthy foods after completing the activity in class with a rubric rating of 8 out of 10 or better. The second objective, students will be able to choose a meal with no more than 600 calories and 25 grams of fat after completing the activity in class and evaluating nutrition information from their favorite restaurant. And the third and final objective, increase the proportion of persons who know the health risks and diseases associated with overweight and obesity. So the lesson plan will start off with a description of the objectives, and we'll just go ahead and hop right into the material since we are only limited to an hour to focus on the first objective of being able to distinguish between healthy and unhealthy foods. This is really going to focus between the activity is really going to drive this point home, because I do believe that the hands-on activity and actually having to think about it and analyze what they're looking at and place it into categories is really what's going to teach them. So we will do a little background information, and one of the first slides I have, we're going to really go into detail of the healthy eating plate and what their plate should look like, how much of their plate should be taken up by vegetables, fruits, grains, proteins, all of that, how much water they should be consuming. So we're really going to get to the details of that. That'll take about 10 to 15 minutes, and once we go over all of that, we are going to get into the first activity. And the way this will go, it's focusing on healthy food versus junk food. And there are 18 kids in the class, so there's going to be 6 groups of 3 students. That way they really have the opportunity to think for themselves and work in a small group rather than organizing larger groups, and some people can just sit out and not really participate. So I really do want to focus on the smaller groups. So we're going to do 6 groups of 3, and I will do a count off. I'll assign each student a number, 1 through 6, and I'll do that 6 times, and then all the 1s will assemble, all the 2s will assemble, and there will be 6 tables that are numbered, and each table has pictures of healthy food and junk food, and they will be instructed to separate into their groups. And then once they're in their groups and at their tables, they're going to have a 5-minute time limit to separate the foods. Like, there's going to be 10 pictures of healthy foods, 10 pictures of unhealthy foods. Some of them will be obvious, some of them will be not so obvious. I really want there to be critical thinking involved, and so they'll have a 5-minute time limit to discuss and put these foods into different categories. And then once that 5 minutes is up, because of time restraints, we would only do have an hour, instead of having each group talk about why they placed certain things in certain categories. We're going to have a group discussion. I will involve the class, ask some questions, but not everybody will get a chance to speak because of time limits. And then after that activity, we will get into the second objectives, and this one is focusing on students being able to choose a meal from a lot of their favorite restaurants, like McDonald's, Taco Bell, wherever they eat most often. They're going to be able to create a meal that's 600 calories or less and also 25 grams of fat or less. So again, the activity is really going to drive this point home. We're going to open up the discussion with a few questions. One of the first questions: what are you really eating when you eat out? How many calories are in it? How many grams of fat? Because I know when I started on my weight loss journey, I really was just ignorant. I had no idea. I didn't know that there were that many calories in it. And when I really started getting into losing weight, that is one of the first things I did, was count my calories, and I was blown away by how much information I didn't know. So we're really going to dissect that, and I want these students to be informed. So we're going to have a series of questions. We're going to open up this discussion. Do we need fats in our diet? What is the difference between healthy fats versus unhealthy fats? Do you know just how many fats and calories are in the food you typically eat from a fast food restaurant? And I know the answer to that one is no. So after that discussion, we are going to get into the second activity, and this activity is called Fast Food Makeover. So we're going to get back into our 6 groups, and each group I'm going to have tons of menus printed up from the most popular restaurants. So like I said, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Chinese food, I mean, all kinds of things. I'm going to have these menus printed up, so the students are going to be able to, they're going to get into their groups, they're going to be instructed to select a burger restaurant, a pizza restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, and a restaurant of their choice from the guides. And they're going to look at these menus as if, like, today they're ordering. What would you order typically? What's your favorite meal from these restaurants? If you went to Taco Bell yesterday, what would you get? And they're going to record the amount of calories and fat. And after they've done that, they're going to revisit each of those restaurants that they selected, so they're each going to have 4, and this is going to be an individual activity. They are going to be separated into their groups, but it is going to be an individual activity, and I want them to be able to bounce ideas off each other and really get some feedback one-on-one with each other. And after they've done their typical meal, they're going to revisit it and they're going to create a meal that is 600 calories or less and 25 grams of fat or less. And this is going to be a challenge to some, and I really want them to be able to do that at each of those restaurants. And then we will have an open discussion about that, and I will open it up for more questions. Like, let's see, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask for some students to volunteer to read their original food orders and then their meal makeovers. Was it difficult for them to choose a meal with 600 calories and 25 grams of fat or less? Would they actually eat this meal that they selected for the meal makeover? Is it possible to eat healthy at a fast food restaurant? So those are just some of the things we're going to touch on while I'm having the students volunteer with their responses. And then after that objective is completed, we are going to get into the third and final objective, which is to increase the proportion of persons who know the health risks associated with overweight and obesity. And we only have the 2 activities, so the activities are over. So this is going to be very informational about how obesity leads to certain diseases, cardiovascular disease, and the rates of obesity in children their age, and also in the next age bracket. So I mean, these are 9th to 12th graders. So we're going to focus on what are the statistics of obesity in their age group, as well as the next group, so 18 to 24 and like beyond that, so they can really see the progression of how they are where they are right now, and they don't think that they could ever become obese. And if they keep up these habits as they age, it is going to catch up to them, and they need to be aware of how many calories they are eating and the nutritional info behind it, because it's about being healthy. It's not about being skinny, and I really want them to understand this. So after that, that'll be a lot of material to cover in that one. And after that is completed, that will pretty much wrap up the lesson plan. I will ask them if they have any questions, and that is about it. Thank you.